This is Paul from the Nissan EV Owners channel. I'm at London Excel Centre for the Everything Electric show. Nissan's not here this year, but Kevin from KC Talks EV is. Kevin and I have had a few chats in the past. He knows a lot of his stuff and he's done a lot of testing. Kevin, hello, how are you?
Excellent. Well, very nice to meet you, obviously, here at Everything Electric London.
It's great, isn't it?
Yes.
We should say at this point that we were going to film some of this segment in the car. However, the car park is a bit dull and dingy. And so we decided that we're going to go with the background noise and the MG stand behind us, and we were going to film it all here.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, the thing is that, I mean, I've been in, because I bought my first EV in 2019, you see. So,
which was what?
A Mark 1 ZS EV. So I was on the pre-order list. I saw it come out. Initially, I actually went to go test drive a Leaf 30, you see. And I loved it. Honestly, this was back in 2018, I think it was. And when I first test drove it, honestly, loved it to bits. I drove it around.
Was it the Gen 1 or the Gen 2?
It would have been the Gen, Gen 1 30 kilowatt hour. So the old shape, not the newer one, obviously, not the 40 or the 62.
Yeah, because they changed model in 2018.
Yes, absolutely. Do you still call it a facelift, or is it? I don't know.
We in the community, we in the community and Nissan call them Gen 1 and Gen 2. It was a facelift, however. The chassis and the interior, most of the interior are exactly the same.
Excellent, yeah. But that being said, I mean, there wasn't anything particularly wrong with the interior anyway. I mean, it's just, I quite like the fact that it's a bit of a refinement, you know. I mean, I've had a look at the new Leaf 62. I was actually looking at one for my dad, to be honest, to try and get him into that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, as I said, I pre-ordered my ZS EV. I came down to London at Oxford Street to go have a look at it. And, 4 years and now 65,000 miles later.
Oh, you still run that car?
Yep, 65,000 miles. I've drove it down here. There's going to be a video on that on my channel, probably at some point. First time I've done a road trip this year.
You like a Maxwell, don't you?
Sorry?
You like they're over there, those commercial vehicles. I think you've got a good relationship with those people.
Oh yeah, I think at the moment, to kind of start off, my YouTube channel was obviously about the MG ZS EV. I think the best way of putting it is if I put out a video on my ZS EV, I think I've got a following on that one. But then I started
to considerably more popular than mine. Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, the thing is that, I mean, I watch all your videos. I mean, I watched the one with Dr. Andy Palmer in it, and I just thought it was absolutely spot on, you know. And as you mentioned, he was so honest, and that was a very refreshing thing.
He's great. He's extraordinarily good value. no doubt about that. Yeah. Dr. Ewan McTurk as well. He was great.
I've actually messaged him a couple of bits because I'm actually a chemist by trade as well. Okay. So, and I like to talk to him about a bit more about the battery chemistry sort of things, and sort of how LFPs go in, maybe sodium ion cells and things. So for me, at least, and from my perspective, I mean, your YouTube channel kind of lets me have a look at some of the things which, if I'm honest, you know, it's very, very nice sort of nighttime sort of watching. And
nighttime? So I had to take that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure where I should have said that now. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. You know,
I totally get what you mean. It's accidental that I've gone for long form, just because I've ended up talking to people who are very knowledgeable and have a lot to say, and when I get into the edit suite, I can't cut out bits of what they say. So we end up with long form, and I'm cool with that. And
I've honestly watched. I mean, you split the Andy Palmer one into two different parts. I've watched the whole thing all the way through because it's actually pretty gripping. You know, it's got all the stuff that's, you know, it's all got the sort of the meaty, nitty-gritty bits in it as well. So honestly, it was a great thing to see, and that was really what actually led me to interview you today.
Yes. So you came to me because you were talking about buying an old Leaf, and an old Leaf is what I do. It's very much my reason for being here. But what do you want from the car?
Well, the thing is that, so we've just had a bit of a chat about it beforehand. I kind of, for my viewers at least, I think you already know that I do around a 65, 70 mile, maybe 75 mile commute almost every day.
I see.
It's slightly different now because actually I kind of split my time between Hull and Grimsby nowadays. But pretty much I'm still doing around 250 miles a week, if not more. I mean, this week, for example, I mean, that's gone way beyond. I did nearly 800. I'm going to do about 800 miles.
Well, you did drive to London, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that I am quite a high mileage driver. With my previous commute, I was doing nearly 15K just with the commute alone.
Oh, crikey.
But what I realized was it was always shorter distance. There's a video of me, which was probably the most boring video I've ever made, of me just showing how I use the car, right? So, and
Yeah, but it's I mean, you say it's boring, but it's what all of us do every single day.
exactly. And the thing is that the most boring stuff, oddly, for me at least, gets oddly the most views. And that actually makes a bit more sense once I really break it down. Because, well, yeah, I mean, you want to see the day-to-day use.
I believe so.
I don't want to see weird, not weird stuff, but like out of the ordinary stuff,
Well, because when people look to buy a car, they don't do out of ordinary stuff. What they do is drive to home and work and back. And so you'd be silly not to show that. And that's why your channel's really extraordinarily popular.
Oh, thank you. I'll be honest with you. As I say in my videos, I mean, I'm quite surprised more than 2 people want to actually see what I'm doing. I mean, I actually came across someone who was at the London to Brighton EV rally, so they arranged all that, and they were saying, "I love your videos so much so that I should put a ZS," which always leaves a little bit of quite a nice feeling inside, because it's all I really want to do is kind of inform. I want to inform. I want to maybe a bit of entertainment on the side every so often, but at the end of the day, I want to show what it's like to own an EV on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But going back to it, the reason why I got talking to you was because essentially. The EV market's gone a bit odd in regards to depreciation. I think at the moment, people are right in saying we don't know how to price used EVs.
I think that's correct.
I would argue it's probably more the misinformation aspect of it. That's leading to possibly people thinking that battery life isn't as much as, people are saying. I think people are going back to the old tricks again where, 30,000 miles, 60,000 miles is the battery's dead.
I think it would be true to say that there are some people who do know how to sell and price used EVs.
Of course.
There aren't enough of them.
Exactly. I mean, well, you've got eco cars, for example.
Absolutely. Up in Orkley, lovely chap.
You've got Cleveley EVs, because I think they do sales as well as servicing now.
They do.
And that being said, actually, I think that people like Cinch, I think people, not Cinch, Kazoo Cinch, I mean, I was speaking to them about it as well, and it was very, very clear that actually they do know how to price them.
Yeah.
But going back to it, currently we're in a bit of a rut with regards to EV pricing. So I decided, well, let's have a look on Auto Trader and let's have a look at some of the BCA auctions and things that EcoCars were doing. So Jonathan Porterfield, and I saw Leafs going for about $4,000, $4,500.
I mean, my car, it's a 2016 Leaf. It's got 79,000 miles on it. It's 10-bar battery. Those car buying websites are not going to give me more than $2,000 for that. So. That you may say, well, that hurts you, but it doesn't, because I don't need that. So I don't need to sell it.
People are saying don't buy a Leaf that's beyond 70,000 miles because the battery's going to be toast.
Depends what you need.
But this is the thing, I mean, for 70 miles, I mean, you said that you've got a battery with 10 bars. I mean, how much range do you normally get out of that at the moment?
It's good for about 80 miles.
Well, I mean, okay, fair enough. We'll be maybe cutting it a little bit close if I need to do anything. But as you say, it's a commuter car. It's supposed to do that. I mean, 65 miles, worst case scenario, Grimsby's got, I mean, in my vicinity, I've probably got about 10 sockets, 10 Type 2 sockets if I ever need it.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, just plug in the EVSE or granny lead, I mean, I'll get plenty enough to get home. So in reality, for commuting, I mean, spot on. And as I mentioned, in my video, I mean, for $4,500, it'll pay itself off in fuel costs alone in 3 years. And then my plan of action was, because the Leaf supports CHAdeMO, and because it supports vehicle to grid from the ground up, well, I know that you've got the, I don't know if the charger's available or not, maybe it'll be in the future, but essentially, I was thinking, well, you can either rip out the battery, or alternatively, use it for vehicle to grid.
Yeah, quite, yeah.
So overall, I mean, thank you so much, obviously, for giving me so much information on it. You also did steer me away from a couple, I must admit, and rightfully so. I think you were talking to me about some of the pitfalls with, I think you can reset the battery health or something.
Sort of.
Yeah.
The reset to the battery health is not a long-lasting thing. The car will quite quickly, within a couple of charges or a couple of weeks, will begin to show the correct level of charge of the battery. If it is possible to make a long-term change to the battery health monitoring system. I don't know about it.
So, but overall, I mean, thank you so much, obviously, for giving me a hand with that. And again, you know, you've actually put me on, I think, something that's quite interesting, because at the moment I've been looking at purchasing another electric vehicle. I mentioned on one of my videos on it. And essentially, I was either going to go down the more expensive route, which is like the Mustang Mach-E, which I absolutely love to bits, but also down the Tesla Model S route.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, again, I mean, you can get one of those for about 20, 25, and that was sort of the ballpark figure I was looking at. But then when I looked at a Leaf and I went, $4.5 grand, pay itself off in fuel costs. I mean, that's something which you know, that's absolutely fine, you know.
Given what you say about your usage, you're going to need one of the rarer, better condition 30 kilowatts for your commute. But yeah, I mean, even so, those cars are not going to be more than £6,000, and they're so extraordinarily efficient.
Well, I mean, still, it would pay itself off for 4 years. So, you know,
easily.
why not?
Yeah.
And the other thing as well is, at the end of the day, you know, I'm buying a used vehicle as well. So I'm keeping that going for a few more years.
Yes, right.
And if we're going to talk about the environmental aspects of that, I mean, keeping a used vehicle on the road, why not keep a used electric vehicle on the road? You know, I'm very, let's call it proactive with my comments. Anyone who's visited my Facebook page will probably know that. I'm starting to get people who are anti-EV on my comments section.
Yeah, I've managed to avoid, they haven't found me yet, luckily.
Yeah. They've started to find me now, and it's because I've got a fairly public comment section on there. And as a result, I've started to get, obviously, a lot of things. Now, the one thing I haven't really been able to kind of give a rebuttal to is used EVs. And I want to kind of put my money where my mouth is, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, my car's 4 years old, 65,000 miles. That's nearly 8 years of usage for the average driver.
Yeah.
You know, average mileage is what, 7,000, 8,000 a year. So, you know, I'm getting to that point now anyway, but just to kind of put my money where my mouth is, why not buy a cheap Nissan Leaf, run it down to the ground? Because as you say, something else will probably go wrong. That's not the electric powertrain. that will write off the car anyway.
No. It's not just Leafs. There's most electric vehicles, but the chances are that the powertrain and the battery and the electric systems are going to outlast the body shell anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, as mentioned, the interesting thing is, I don't know about there was a bit of an issue with these LSEV, you see, where they were saying, it's not galvanized or it's not like treated, so it's going to rust away in 2 years or something. Well, my car's 4 years old. As far as I'm aware, I mean, it passed its 4-year MOT a few months ago, so I mean, they didn't catch anything on there. The only thing they did catch, though, interestingly, is the brake disc is corroded now.
Yes, that's not uncommon. Yeah, well, we find that is that they just corrode because they don't get used very much.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is with that one is that originally when I looked up, you know, the VW Group MEB vehicles, they've actually got drum brakes again.
Really?
On the rears, and I kind of went, why? That's going a bit backwards, isn't it? And I realised, hang on, no, with disc brakes corroding, yeah, you want drum brakes back again, actually. So, and I mean, I've been speaking to EV breakers. I'm probably about to speak to a couple more people about this. I mean, EV servicing, they see that brake pad wear is just nothing. I mean, when you look at some of the evidence back on brake dust and things like that, it's not really. I mean, some vehicles with 180,000 miles still on their original set of brake pads. I mean, tyre wear, for example. I mean, my car's still on its original rears. On the fronts, the only reason why I replaced them was they were getting a bit low, and then I got a puncture again. So that was a wonderful time. So overall, I mean, it's really great to obviously talk to you about it.
Well, I'm pleased to be of service. Japanese car manufacturers, they have a curious relationship with China. Geopolitics looms much larger in Japan than it does in here in the West. And in my interview with Andy Palmer, he alludes to it. Yet we're buying Chinese cars.
Mm-hmm. You know, obviously the geopolitics. What about buying a Chinese car? I think at the end of the day, you know, I am not, for example, a politician. I'd just like to make it very clear. My opinion on politics and geography is, you know, I don't really have an opinion on this.
I like the way you look straight down the barrel of the camera.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, when I bought my car, that wasn't really a thing. I really couldn't care less about it. I mean, at the end of the day, the thing I will say is that I do find it a bit unfortunate that the British car industry did obviously take a tumble.
There you go.
When I looked at it, I mean, I was not very old, I'll be honest, when MG went bankrupt, right? And it got bought by Nanjing, and then now it's owned by SAIC, or the Shanghai Automotive Corporation. So the thing is that when I look at it, yes, is it British? Absolutely not.
No.
In fact, actually, just a bit of trivia, I believe that the MG ZS EVT, they actually got made redundant before the final tweaks to the suspension and the handling were made. If you look up vehicle handling solutions, I believe it was the team who originally set up the car for UK roads, but they never fitted it to the car.
Oh, really?
So all of the shocks and things, I think they are aftermarket, but essentially that's what they wanted the ZS EV to handle like.
Of course, we should say at this point that Nissan Leaf is built in Sunderland.
It is built. In fact, actually, I spent a year in Sunderland, and
did you?
I used to go past the factory all the time, you see. So, and it was lovely to see that. But going back to it, I mean, at the end of the day, does it matter? I think it's more of a case of, are cars being built here? Which in the case of Nissan, I believe, what are they currently building since the Leaf's gone out of production? Because
they are building the Qashqai and the Duke.
okay,
Are
and
both built at Sunderland.
Are they-
So the Leaf's out of production. Aria's built in Japan and shipped here. So yeah, as far as I know, just those two cars are built in Sunderland at the moment.
are they? Do they reckon they're going to bring the Leaf replacement or any other?
Oh yes,
EVs,
absolutely.
Or, okay,
yeah. That's publicly in their plans. The Leaf, the new E-Duke, and a third car, which they won't tell me, but I believe is going to be an electric large 4x4.
Oh, excellent. So yeah, so they are going to bring, so at the end of the day, if
Perhaps Pathfinder.
oh wow, okay, that's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
So not even, is Pathfinder bigger than the Extra? I think it is.
Oh yeah. I mean, you've seen the EV9.
Yes.
Pathfinder is up there. It's
wow.
that segment.
Okay, right. So yeah, you're not going to be cramped in the back in the third row then.
No,
so that's
we
gonna
used
be
to have
all
a Pathfinder. So it was our first Nissan. So yeah, it's an amazing car.
Oh, lovely. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if it keeps people in jobs in the UK, I mean, at the end of the day, does it matter? I mean, you've got obviously Jaguar Land Rover, for example. They've been Indian since 2007. I won't go into too much details about their electric stuff because apparently I think they've got a recall going on from the LG chem cells that they use. But apart from that, so at the end of the day, it keeps people in jobs.
Mini's built here.
The Mini's built, the Mini is built here. Bit more trivia about that one. I found out that the cage where the motor is actually lifted directly from the BMW i3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so when you
that's
open up the bonnet, I might get some footage of it. But if you open up the bonnet, it's in a cage. And essentially the cage is lifted directly from the i3, I believe. Or they've put the cage in there and the motor is from the i3. It's good to see that, obviously. And at the end of the day, it's just a car. I mean, you could argue with a lot of other places, and at the end of the day, I buy a car, I run the car, and I've had a look at new Cyberstar. I'm probably about to put a pre-order on it just because. I mean, I have no idea about politics, and I'm going to be first and foremost about that. But I buy cars because they're good. And my MG, apart from, little small bits and pieces last year, it's been okay as ever, and it takes me to work for £2.50.
Indeed.
It's cheaper than the bridge toll, the Humber Bridge toll.
Oh, right, yes.
So that's £2.70 a day, so but yeah, thank you so much, Paul, again. I mean, you've done absolute wonders for the community. I can't believe how big the community has gotten, actually. I mean, when did you start the EV, the Nissan Leaf community?
Well, I only joined the community 2 years ago. But since then, it's nearly doubled in size. And so, I'd like to think that, I've done, I've had some small part in that.
Oh, I think, yeah, most certainly. Because as you say, I mean, you're part and parcel of the YouTube channel. I mean, it's amazing to watch all your stuff. Again, Ewan McTurk, for example, I've watched that one. I've watched the one from Dr. Andy Palmer, which is absolutely brilliant. And again, I mean, I want to give a big shout out as well to Paul Carnell, which is our admin team at the Yorkshire EV Club. He has a Leaf 62.
He's a lovely fella.
Yep.
He's doing very well at the moment. He's got shingles. Have you seen the pictures?
Yes.
It was quite scary. Poor chap. get well soon, Paul. Jeez,
Yes.
that looks nasty.
He actually gave me a bit of a shout out to say that I'm the one leading the Yorkshire EV Club stuff here. So
Quite right too.
So, but yeah, thank you so much again, giving me the time to speak to you. I mean, it's been honestly an honour. Speaking to people. I want
bless you.
to see so many people talk about EVs, and you're one of them. So, thank you so much.
I have to realise that I've got quite a narrow field, and so I'm okay with that. And so I do like to chat to people like yourself who have a much wider remit, perhaps is the right word, in the EV field. Kevin, thank you so much.
No worries,
It's been an absolute pleasure.
No worries, thank you.
You have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, talk to you soon.